This is the chapter number 11. Books, paintings and buildings. So in this chapter we'll be studying about the different paintings and books written by the different people in the ancient time. Clear, students? And you all know India is a land of diversities, diverse culture, diverse language, and variety in art and literature. So India is called as a wealth of literature, art and architecture. In this chapter, we are going to study about some literary and archaeological works of ancient period in detail. Clear, students? So first we'll be studying about the literature. Puranas. The old stories. Puranas are the book which give us information about to lead our life, about the gods and goddesses, about our culture, about our mythology. As mentioned in the earlier chapters, literary works of ancient India were primarily religious in nature. Means earlier the literature books were completely filled with religious mythological works. The Puranas, literally meaning old. Purana means, as in Hindi we take this meaning, it Purana means old, very old. They contain the stories of gods and goddesses like Vishnu, Durga, etc. There are details mentioned in how they were to be worshipped and also contain the account of world and the rulers. These books also contain about the rulers who has ruled. It's written in simple Sanskrit language, and the Puranas are written in Sanskrit language. Shudras and women were only allowed to hear them, but were restricted to study the Vedas. Means these were allowed to listen, but where? These were restricted to study. They were not allowed to study the Vedas. The Puranas were meant for everybody, regardless of caste and gender. Initially, they may have been orally transmitted and compiled around the 1st century BC. So it is imagined that during 1st century BC they might have been compiled. Now you all know about the epics. Which are our greatest epics, students? Ramayana and Mahabharata, yes? The epics of Hindu religion. The Ramayana and Mahabharata are the epics which provide us the account of the political, social, economic and religious life of the epic age. You might have watched also, not read, but watched also these epics. Yes, because during this pandemic lockdown, these serials were coming on TV also. The Mahabharata was compiled by sage Vyas, Ved Vyas Rishi. Who has written this Mahabharata? Ved Vyas. The text deals with the war between Pandavas and Kauravas. You all know about the story of Mahabharata? Yes, Pandavas were 5 and Kauravas were 100. They were brothers, but still they had a fight. Who were cousins for the throne of, and who had fought for the throne of Hastinapur. Yes, and the battle ended with the victory of the Pandavas. The Bhagavad Gita is part of the Mahabharata. Yes, Bhagavad Gita is the holy book of our Hindu culture. And it also gives the summary of that. The war between Pandavas and Kauravas. It is the teachings of Lord Krishna to Arjun. It contains the teachings of Lord Krishna to Arjun. So this was about Mahabharata. Clear, students? So Mahabharata was compiled by the sage Vyas, and it is story of the Kauravas and Pandavas. Now next epic is the Ramayana. Yes, Ramayana was written by Valmiki, and it deals with the story of Rama. Who was Rama? Prince of Kaushala, and who was sent to exile in the forest. And there he had a fight with Ravan. who was residing in Lanka at the time. He was accompanied, and when Ram went to the exile, he was accompanied by his wife Sita and brother Lakshman. Sita's abduction by Ravan means उनको kidnap किया था earlier. The king of Lanka led to war in which Rama emerged victorious. The story ends with the Rama's return to Ayodhya, the capital of Kaushala. Clear? So you have watched this also. There were many other characters also, Vibhishan, Meghnad, Hanuman. Today also we worship Lord Hanuman. Yes. So these was about the epics of Hindu religion. Now we move towards the other religion, that is Buddhist and Jainism. Clear, students? Now, the Buddhist and Jain literatures. The Buddhist and Jain scholars produce the wealth of literature, that is Triptikas and Jatakas, that contain valuable information on the life of Gautam Buddha and Mahavira and their teaching. Yes, Triptikas and Jatakas are the book which contain the information about this founders of this religion. The stories of Jatakas are portrayed in the places like Ajanta and on the railings of stupas. Yes, Ajanta Ellora caves are also depicting the stories of this religion. Panchatantra is a collection of animal fables enjoyed by both the young and old alike. You might be hearing, yes, stories of Panchatantra. And in the last chapter only we have studied this. During the Gupta period, only this Panchatantra was written. It contains the stories of animals. Fables means animals. Now, other valuable books also are Kalidasa has written Abhignan Sakuntalam, Meghdutta, then Aryabhatta. You studied about Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta was a mathematician. He has written a book called Aryabhattyam. Elango, he has written a book called Silapikaram. Satnar, Mani Mekalai is a book written by this Satnar. The latter two are considered Tamil epics. Yes, Elango and Satnar, they are considered as Tamil epics. As we have our Hindu epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, same way. Silapikaram and Manikmalai are the Tamil epics. Sangam literature. You have studied about this Sangam literature also? Sangam literature provides us the earliest examples of Tamil literature, which were produced by ancient Tamil poets. It is an important source of information on the history of South India. Yes. To know more about detailed explanation about the South Indian rulers, we can go through the Sangam literature. It gives us brief information about the South Indian rulers. This literature has also given very useful historical information and detailed accounts of the important rulers. Clear, students? So it gives about information of the rulers and their commercial activities, administrative setup, and social, economic, and religious conditions of that period. Now, books on science have been also written. Aryabhatta was a mathematician and astronomer, wrote a book in Sanskrit known as Aryabhattam. And students, you all know, as today everything is written in English now, at that time Sanskrit was the main language. So everything was written in the Sanskrit language. He explained that the day and night were caused by the rotation of the earth on its axis. So it was Aryabhatta first to study about the rotation of the earth, and in that only explain about how day and nights are caused. And even though it seems if the sun is rising and setting every day, he developed a scientific explanation for the eclipse as well. As you all know, eclipse, lunar eclipse and solar eclipse. Yes, Now again on the
मैम ने
14th we have
चैप्टर 5
solar
नहीं
eclipse.
कराया कंप्यूटर में.
Daisy, your voice is coming. Yes, he
Oh,
also
sorry,
found the
ma'am.
way of calculation of circumference of circle, which is nearly as accurate as the formula we use today. There were other mathematicians and astronomers like Brahmagupta, Bhaskacharya, Varamihir, who are also created for various discoveries. Means there are other also mathematicians who have discovered the many things. So this was about the books on science and mathematics, which is explaining about the rotation of the earth, occurring of day and night, eclipse, and calculation of the circumference of circle. Now we move towards the next part, that is art and architecture. The ancient India achieved wonderful heights in the field of fine arts, that is architecture, sculpture, painting, jewelry, stone, and metal polishing, metallurgy and engineering. You can see the great Stupa Sanchi. It is an architecture work during that period. One of the later ancient period was the stupas. The meaning of the word stupa is mound. Here students, the meaning of stupa is mound. They were in various sizes like small, tall, round, etc. But they also had certain common features. There is a small box placed at the heart of stupa which contains the remains of Buddha. So stupas were taken formed from the or made for the Buddhism religion. Okay, you can see there on the screen a stupa picture is being there. Yes, and where remains of his followers or of the Buddha itself. The things they used means whatever the things Buddhist followers or Buddha used, everything was placed in this stupa. The box is called as the relic casket and it was covered with the soil and then layer of baked brick or mud bricks was added on top. Then a dome-like structure was constructed on it, which was sometimes covered with a stone slab. So this is how this stupa got constructed. Clear students how a box-like structure is that and it is covered with the soil and then layer of baked and mud bricks are added on the top so that it creates a dome-like structure and it was sometimes covered with the stone slabs also. As a path was laid around the stupa known as Pradakshina path. Yes, path means to move around, As you all know that when we go to temples, we take Pradakshina, we move around it. That is called Pradakshina path, surrounded by railings. There were gateways for entering the stupas and a mark of devotion. The devotees walked around the stupas in a clockwise direction. I hope many of you might have visited this type of domes in Himachal and eastern states. There are Buddhist stupas and that. Amravati stupa is an example of magnificent carving which were made more than 2000 years ago. So they were made more than 2000 years ago and they are the excellent examples of architecture skills, students. Now another example made during this we will be seeing, that is iron pillar. The iron pillar at Mehrul in Delhi is an outstanding example of Indian craftsmen in the metallurgy. Metallurgy means metal. So this was made of metal, students. Clear? The stupa was construction work of mud bricks and this iron pillar is a metal work. It was made up of approximately 1500 years ago with iron that has not rusted over the years. Till present, students, till present condition also, this iron is not getting rusted, this iron pillar. And if you keep, see, you can do the practically. If you keep iron needle in open, you see after a month only, it will get rusted. But this iron pillar at Meruli has not got rusted. It is standing as same in this rainy season, windy season, everything, the moisture condition also. This Ashokan pillar have also retained their original form. They were polished more than 2000 years ago. So they have polished this 2000 years ago. Clear students? And it was also built by Ashoka only in spread of Buddhism religion. You all know that Ashoka embraced Buddhism after the Kalinga War. Yes? And then he started spreading more and more about Buddhism religion. So that he got this iron pillar also constructed. Now, funding means how this they get funds. Funds means money to construct all these things. Yes. So they are getting it from the kings. The kings, they won the battles and the money which they get are spending on this construction work. So funding for the constructions of stupas usually came from kings, queens, often spend money to pay the craftsmen to build splendid structures. Yes, kings and queens, they gave the money to the craftsmen for the construction of these pillars. Now, devotees and visitors who brought gifts which were used in the decoration of the stupas. Yes, those who visited, they brought the gifts along with that, and that was used in the decoration of stupas. Merchants, traders, garland makers, etc., etc. also contributed in the construction of this structure. And the names of the contributors who inscribed on the pillars and walls. The Sanchi Stupa in Madhya Pradesh is the best example of this stupas. Clear, students? Now, the temple architecture. Clear, students? In this chapter, we are going to study about the architecture work. Students,